So, folks, when you watch Star News, you never know just who you might see. And of course, we are called Star News. And we got a star tonight. We got Kyle Petty joining us. Where are you, Kyle?
I'm in a corner of my living room, away from all the TV. The boys are going to bed. Morgan's putting the boys to bed. So this is the quietest place I can find in the house right now.
Well, here's a guy that's not quiet. Steve Draper, Sheriff Steve Draper joins us here, and he put all this together. How did you manage all this going on?
Well, I knew that Kyle had written the book, his memoir book, and heard a lot about
Swerve or Die.
And Swerve and Die.
Yeah.
That's the name of the book. Yeah. And I knew that he wanted to, in the smaller cities, when they went racing on race week, he wanted to maybe reach out outside the racetrack and get into the community. And his wife, Morgan, had spoke to me about it. And I said, hey, I love that kind of thing.
Right.
We'll get that started. And that's when we started looking for a place and looking for a place to do it. And Kyle has some, first off, I want to say, like I said before, it's a privilege to call him a friend.
Yeah.
The Kyle Petty is one of a kind. He cares about people. He cares about his fans. And, when we're looking for a place to do it, we named several different places in town, and we wanted to stay in town if we could. And I know that when the first one I found had a little stage to it, and his wife Morgan said, no, that's not going to work because a lot of Kyle's fans are in wheelchairs or on walkers. And I mean, it's an older generation.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want them to have to struggle, and he wants them to be able to walk up to him. And I thought that was so special. And so we found a place, and it's Ruski's uptown across the municipal building. And it's a flat floor. He'll be escorted there to the back. They've already got a place set up for him to sign the book.
Can I buy the book there?
You can buy the book there. You can buy the book in advance. They're going to sell in advance. And you don't even know this, Kyle, but actually the owners of Ruski's have given their employees a contest to see which one of them sell the most, pre-sale your book the most.
Wow.
So we're going to start that next week. So it's really taken off, and it's growing. It's getting more and more, I think, more and more popular.
Let's talk to him about the book.
Okay.
Swerve or Die. What does that mean?
Well, so listen, so I play music and I write music. And as everybody knows, if a song's got to have a hook. And so when I came up with the title, that was the hook, Swerve or Die. And it means a lot of things. It means, it means never stop. It means never give up. It means you constantly have to change. And that's basically been my life from growing up with my granddad, Lee Petty, who raced up there at Martinsville. My dad raced there. I raced there. And then having Adam come along, and then Adam's accident, which totally changed directions of my life. When you lose a child, it totally changes the direction of the life that you're living and where that goes. So, but you never stop. You never stop doing things. We built a camp. We've done other things. You continue to do the Kyle Petty charity ride across America. So that's basically what it means to me. And that's what the book's about. It's just different stories about points in your life when you could have stopped and just laid down instead of not going any farther, but you just keep moving, and good things keep happening and things keep changing. So that's basically what the title's about. Listen, if you walk by a book and you see a race car driver on it and the title's Swerve or Die, chances are you're going to pick it up. Because that's the hook that kind of draws you in, because it's a race car driver and the title's a little bit in your face.
Well, let me ask you this. Are you going to go to some of those sensitive areas and talk about them?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot in there. There's a lot in there. The book starts with myself getting a phone call from NASCAR, from Mike Helton, that Adam had been in a bad wreck and didn't make it. And then the book goes back in time to my granddad and his accident and my dad's and some of the things that I've gone through. And then there's some funny stories with fans that I tell in there, different fans I've met along the way. They may recognize themselves. I hope not. I tried to change the names to protect the innocent. And there's racing stories and there's just stories growing up as Kyle Petty. It's so funny. I talked to Clay Campbell, and we grew up parallel.
Is he in the book?
No, he's not in the book. No, but I talked to him after he read the book, and we grew up parallel. I grew up with Pearson and my dad and Cale and Bobby and guys like that, and he grew up with all those same guys coming to the racetrack, and Clay Earl, and being around all those same guys. And then we grew up racing and competing. And he grew up with the racetrack with Dale Sr. and Terry Labonte and Harry Gant and guys like that. And then it moved to Jeff Gordon, and then it moved on. And we've both been able to just continue and take on different roles in the sport and continue to flourish.
Well, one of the things I admire about it, go ahead, Steve.
Well, I was just gonna say, Kyle, since we are the Martinsville fans here, tell them about y'all called it your home track and why.
Yeah, shoot, yeah. Listen, I tell people all the time, until I started doing TV, I'd never spent a night in Martinsville in a hotel, which I don't know if the Chamber of Commerce likes that or not, because I didn't leave a lot of money up there. Tried to take all the money away when I'd leave up there. And my dad took the money a lot and a lot of clocks. But, you know, it's only 60 from where we lived. It was only like 68, 69 miles from our house to Martinsville's front door. So it was a crazy place for us to come. That was a place that we'd come up, practice during the day, go home, sleep in your own bed, eat dinner at home, and come back the next day, eat breakfast, and then come back the next day. So it's just always been our home track. It's the closest track to where we live. It's a track my dad had more success at than any other racetrack. So we knew chances were when we went to Martinsville, we were going to have to make room for a clock somewhere in the house when we come home, because we were going to. And listen, you had never heard anything until you've been in Richard Petty's house and heard 15 clocks all go off at the same time, because that's how many times he won up there. It scares people when it first happens, but they get used to it after a while.
And one of the things that amazes me about you is how positive you are. You rarely see people with your energy and your positivity. What's your trick? What's your secret?
You know what? I say this, and I think it's growing up the way I grew up, growing up in racing. You know, we were always, so you live all week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, getting ready for that big race on Sunday. And man, you have hope, you have dreams, you just know you're going to go out and kick rear end. And then at 6 o'clock that day, when that race is over with, that race is you either won or you lost. There's no in between. There's one winner and there's 30 some losers now. And that's the way it works. But we always had this philosophy that we could whine about it and we could complain about it and we could feel sorry for ourselves until midnight. And then at midnight, it was Monday again. And you got to look forward to the next race. And that's the way I've always been. I've always looked forward, never looked back. Always thought tomorrow was going to be a better day. And most of my tomorrows were better days. I will say that as I've lived life, most of my tomorrows have been better days. So listen, man, who wouldn't want to grow up and drive race cars for a living and never have an office and never have a job per se? I've lived the dream my whole life, and I know it. I know I'm very blessed.
I got you. Now, what kind of questions do you get about the book? I mean, like when people,
I think the main question, the first question I always get is why. And the answer to that is the pandemic. That's why. I was born, I tell people I was born in June of 1960, went to my first race in July of 1960 and been going to races ever since. As I said before, grew up with all the greats that ran up there. At Martinsville, grew up with Earnhardt. Those guys got to race against got to race against Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, Kyle Busch, got to race against Joey Logano, got to race against all these guys. So when you look at it, I go back to the 60s, and then here I was in 2007, 2008, still driving, and still a part of the sport. So it's a long time, and you get questions about different drivers, but the main thing is, why. And when the pandemic started and everybody was locked up at home, I decided it was time. And I tell people this. So I wrote my first story and I showed it to Morgan, showed it to my wife, and she sent it to the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's longest run-on sentence with no punctuations and more misspelled words than anything she had ever seen in her life. Right. And we laughed about it. She said, "You got to get somebody to help you." So that's why the book's now. And that's the main question I get.
All right, Steve.
Well, I want to tell Kyle, I want to flatter you a little bit by two of your friends, our friends, and there's Clay Campbell and Mike Joy, because I got quotes from both of them about your book to share with you. And Clay, Clay, I know he told me that he had spoken with you after he read the book, but Clay said he bought the book. He started reading it and he couldn't put it down. He said, "I just couldn't put it down." Because like you said, all the memories came back when you guys grew up together. Yeah. You saw each other when you were children, just coming up through racing, and it was just amazing. And he said it was just one of those things that He'll never forget a lot of stuff he had forgotten. That the book brought back memories, and he just couldn't say enough positive about it. And Mike Joy, I think the flattering thing about Mike is 45 years of covering racing. He said, and I knew the Petty family, and I read the book and I found out, no, I did not know the Petty family. and I mean, he was so complimentary of you and your family and all that y'all have done for racing and all you've done for the community. And I do hope we'll have time for you to talk just a few minutes about Victory Junction, because I think that's so important. And I'm so proud of you for what you've done with that and what the amount of time and money that you've made for that Victory Junction.
Yeah, Victory Junction is a great place. When Adam's accident happened in 2000, we had talked about building a camp in North Carolina for children with serious medical needs and chronic medical needs. And I'd been fortunate and driven some sports car races with Paul Newman. Paul has his hole in the wall gang camps, is what he had at the time. Now they're called Serious Fun. So I called Paul after Adam's accident and I said, we want to build a camp. And we started working on it and he started working on it. And the next thing you know, we're building a camp in North Carolina, and Dale Jarrett and Bobby Labonte and almost every driver said, we'll help you. And since that time, the fans have helped. So many people, we've seen over 100,000 kids have come through camp or that we've touched their families totally free of charge. It's right down the road from Martinsville. We've seen tons of kids from Virginia. We've seen kids from all 50 states, totally free of charge. So it is an incredibly special place. And I tell people all the time, I lost one son, but I feel like I've gained 100,000 other kids as part of my family. Because when they leave there with that little smile on their face, then I know Adam's still close to us.
Let me ask you this and tell me if it's true. And I did mention to you before that when I was down talking to your mom about our softball game that we played here, and I said, is Kyle around? She said, well, I wish he was, but he's out back on the four-wheeler with a young man that's come to stay with us for a little while. He wants to get into racing and said he's from Tennessee. And I said, well, who is that? And he said, well, his name's Michael Walter.
Yeah.
Darrell Walter's brother.
Yeah.
And is it true that I think your mom after that or your dad one told me that where y'all were riding the four-wheelers was actually where the camp is?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's where we built camp. Yeah, it's right over on the backside of his property. He gave us the property. Michael lived with me for a while. And then I couldn't take it anymore. Got to be honest with you. So I pawned him off on my mom and dad, and he lived with my mom and dad for a while. And he worked up there at the race shop before he started driving. Just a good friend and a good guy. But yeah, we built camp over on the backside of the property there. My dad said, yeah, we'll give you 40, 50, 60 acres of land and we'll build it. And we came off another road and build it back there. So my dad goes over there a lot. He goes to camp a lot because he can just ride through the woods and top the hill there. And there's where camp's at.
And the one other thing I'll ask you to mention is the Ride Across America.
Yeah.
And the kind of money that's raised for Victory Junction.
You take part.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Steve, he was our escort. Are you kidding me, man? When we came to Virginia, he's our escort. And we've gone all over the country. We stayed at the homestead a few years ago, and rode over towards West Virginia and over to the D-Day Memorial there in Bedford. Just had a great time. It rained a lot, but it was still a lot of fun and we had a good time. But we've done this thing for 26, 27 years. We've raised over $20 million for the Victory Junction camp and for different children's charities, because the first few years we were stopping at different children's hospitals everywhere. So it just continues to grow. My wife, Morgan, runs it. And Steve will tell you, she is buttoned up, man. If she says we're going to be there at 6, we're there at 6. That's the way it is. So it is. It's
like a producer, right?
Do what?
She's kind of like a producer, isn't she?
Yeah. Listen, she's the director, the producer, the owner. She does everything. Believe me. She walked through here a minute ago and she was doing something. She said, I bet you there's not a lot of other women that would do this. I said, I know one, and you're the only one that I know would do it. So she's special for sure.
It's a minute-to-minute schedule too, and you better be there. You're right.
Yeah.
You follow the minute-to-minute schedule.
Right.
Yeah.
And let me ask you a little bit, since we're starting news and covering the headlines and stuff, this new gen car that got some problems with, how do you feel about it?
Listen, I like this car. So let me explain it to you this way. Let me put it to you this way. If you guys are sitting there at a TV station, okay, you're sitting there and you got all this equipment that you've used for 20 years, and then one day they said, we're not going to use any of that anymore. not going to use any of that. We're going to bring in brand new stuff tomorrow. And they bring in the brand new stuff and they put it up and you guys start using it. Chances are there's going to be glitches. There's going to be something's not hooked up right. Something's not going the right way. But eventually you get it figured out. Eventually you get it figured out. And you know what you got when you got it figured out? You got a state-of-the-art facility that is better than the 20-year equipment you were using before. What we have in our sport was a car that we used for so long, and it just kept inching forward, inching forward, inching forward. And all of a sudden, NASCAR said, boom, we're stopping. We're going to go build a brand new car. We're going to build a car with rack and pinion steering, independent rear suspension, sequential shift, fuel injection, so many things we're going to change on this car. Well, chances are, if you change that many things, you're going to have issues with a few of these things. And they're having issues obviously with the rack and pinion on some of the short tracks. They're having issues with what the drivers feel when they wreck. A lot of the energy is going straight to the driver's bodies. So they're having issues with that. They fix that in a road car with airbags. You can't put airbags in a race car. They just don't work the same way. So as you look at it, there are issues that have risen and have come up, but the racing as a whole has been better. How can you complain about a year when you've had 19 different winners? 19 different winners. This ties an all-time record. And we still got 5 races to go. They couldn't, Ryan Blaney still hadn't won a race. Martin Truex still hadn't won a race. These are guys that win consistently year in and year out. We could end up with 21 winners in this season. So you can't complain about that part of it. I think there are some small things and there's some large things. This crash stuff is getting everybody's attention because safety always should get your attention. And they're going to fix that. But you can't fix it quick, man. You can't fix it like we used to fix stuff. They don't work the same. The cars aren't the same. And it's hard to get fans to wrap their heads around that. It's hard to get the teams to wrap their hands around that. But I think when they do get it fixed, we're going to look back on this year, 2022 as a watershed year for this car and for the sport.
Right. It's been a pretty good year racing, hasn't it?
You know what? I think it's been really good. The bad part is the short tracks have suffered a little bit. They've not been as good as what they were in the past with the old car. But the intermediate tracks have been good. The speedways have been good. And I think that's one of the issues. And one of the things they're looking at next year is to make the short track racing back to what it was, back as good as it was a number of years ago. So, but all in all, man, it's been a really good year for the sport. It's been a really good year. I tell people all the time, I said, you've got 19 winners, but really we've got 20 because the fans have won this year. The fans have been winners this year by it being as competitive as it is.
Right. When they come rolling into Martinsville, who's going to be mad at each other? Can you give us a prediction?
Listen, when they come rolling into Martinsville, they're mad because they have to come through the tunnel at the same time. So they're all mad when they walk into the place.
Right.
That's tough, man. That's most of the time they're madder when they leave Martinsville. But you know what? To run Martinsville, honestly, you gotta put on your big boy pants. And you got to get in that car and you got to have a little bit thicker skin because it's not all personal. It's not all personal. Listen, I come there to beat you into submission. I come there to win the race. And if I've got to run over you to do it, that's not personal, dude. That's not personal. I'm just looking out for me and I'm not looking out for you. But I don't want you to take it the wrong way. It's business. I'm going to cut your throat. That's the way it is. And I think so many times we see some things and guys just take it personal. There's been some things up there that should have never happened. When you look at Matt and Joey, when you look at Denny running over Chase that time, there's been 2 or 3 wrecks up there recently that should have never happened. And I would have took those things personal. I will say that. But there's other times these guys, it's just racing, man. You gotta get into somebody to get them out of the way up there.
Hey, you guys remember the Joey Logano, Matt Kenseth wreck? Were you there then?
Oh yeah, shoot, yeah. I was doing TV then.
Okay.
So yeah, I was definitely there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, does that one stand out to, I guess, I'm not with racing every week, but that one, I'll never forget it. Will y'all ever forget that day and the way the crowd went?
No.
I heard the crowd over top of the cars. I'll never
Yeah.
forget that.
Yeah. That was a bad here. Yeah. And here's the funny part to me is people came down on either one side or the other. And I had a guy stop me at an airport because I was really hard on Matt about it. And he said, Joey deserved that. And I said, okay, I said, let's just stop for a minute. Let's just stop for a minute. And I said, let's put it this way. If you had a son and he was driving that 22 car, that he was driving Joey Logano's car, Joey Logano's not in it, your son's in it, and he did that, did your son deserve that? And he said, well, it depends on what he did. I said, so you're telling me that you would be okay with somebody wrecking your son that way? And he said, no, I probably wouldn't. I said, so let me ask you this question. Now your son's in the other car and he sits in the garage area for 200 laps. He fixes his car and he goes out and he wrecks somebody on the racetrack. Are you proud of your son? And he said, nope, I wouldn't be proud of him. I said, so there's your answer. Somewhere in that gap, if you can look at it that way, it's where your answer is. If you look at it from over here, you can't be proud of what happened. And you can't think that it was right that it did happen. It just should have never happened, but it happened and you move on and that's all you can do. But those are the type of things that shouldn't happen ever in a sport, because again, safety never takes a holiday. And if somebody had gotten hurt, people would have looked at it totally different.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being with us. Let's talk about the book a little bit more. I want to let people know. Now, I think it's important. It's on Saturday, October the 29th, but we don't know exactly when it's going to be because we got to wait till the race ends. Tell me about that.
Yeah, because I got a job. I'm sorry. Not really a job, but it's what I get paid for. So I got to sit there and run my mouth. But as soon as that's over with, I think Steve is going to put me on the back of his bike and we're going to ride over there.
You don't get speed, are you, Steve?
I'm not gonna say.
So he's going to get me over there. He's going to get me over there. The race should end sometime around 5:30 or 6, sometime in that zone. Could end a little bit sooner. With these green, white checkers, man, it may go a little bit longer.
Hey, we could have rain too.
Do what?
We could have rain too. You never know.
No, we ain't having rain, babe. I don't know where you from. It never rains in Martinsville. So we'll head over that way. So we'll be there sometime and we'll stay until everybody gets a book signed and they hear some music. We'll stay as long as it takes. So that's the guarantee. Not sure what time it's going to start, but we'll stay as long as it takes.
And we have advertised it. We'll start, it's as soon as the race is over and we get you there. So
yeah,
hopefully people will get there. Come early, buy the book, get in line and get ready for Kyle.
Eat. Come early and eat, man.
That's true.
There's rumor that you may sing. Is there anything to that?
Yeah, I'll sing. I'll sing anything, man. Yeah, I'll sing. Are you kidding me? Right. Are you going to sing with me? Are you going to sing with me?
I might. Are you going to bring a guitar?
Yeah, shoot, yeah. I don't ever go any place without a guitar. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
I'm going to come back my next life as a harmonica player. It's a lot easier to carry around with you everywhere than a guitar.
Right. Hey, I can't believe you gave us this much time. We were really honored to have you here on the show tonight. Steve, anything else you want to say?
Kyle, thank you so much. And I just want to encourage all the fans to please come out. First off, I want to invite them to go to the Dead on Tools 250. And as soon as it's over with, head uptown. And we'll have you there ready to go. And the fans that want to get there early, the book will be on sale. They can buy the book, get in line, and get ready. So thank you for your time.
All going on at Brewski's.
Right. Brewski's.
Yep.
It's Brewski's is new, so it's right across from City Hall.
Right across the municipal building.
Right. So some of you is fine.
Yeah. Hey, probably a place I know well, right across from the jail.
That's right. That's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it, man.
All right. Bye-bye.